Google Drive serves as the backbone for most online K-12 experiences these days. And keeping your Google Drive organized can really make life easier for you as you dive into remote learning. So I'm going to show you a few basic and pro tips that I've learned along the way that will help you keep your Google Drive organized and your online learning effective. Let's start out with folders. Here in my Google Drive, I can create a folder by choosing New and then Folder. I can give it a title, call this one Sample, and choose Create. I can see that folder now pops up inside of my drive, and I now have a folder called Sample. Now you'll notice that it goes way down my list here under Sample. What if I used a naming convention to move it up towards the top of my list? Google Drive sorts things in alphanumerical order. So if I can make Sample into 00 Sample, that will put it at the top of my list because it starts with numbers and then it goes on to letters. Now why would I put 00? Well, you'll notice that I'm getting close to having almost 10 folders here. And by the time I hit 10, if I had just done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, when I added that 10th folder, it would go right underneath my 1 folder because 10 follows 1 in alphanumerical order. So by starting with 0, that just makes it easier to organize. Another way to do a naming convention inside of Google Drive is using year, month, date. I'll show you real quick how that works. I'm going to right-click it and choose Rename again. Get rid of these 00s, and I'm going to start with the year, which as I'm recording this is 2020. Then the month, which is July. And it's the first of the month today as I record this. By putting in the year, month, date for this folder, I am now organizing things based on the date that I created them. You can also organize folders by color coding. To do that, you right-click on your folder, choose Change Color, and then choose any color that you'd like to represent that folder. Let's go inside of that folder. Inside every folder, I can make subfolders, choosing New, Folder, giving it a name called Subfolder. Okay. You can use the same naming conventions, color conventions to help me out. Let's take a look at files. You can add new files to Google Drive in a few different ways. If you're using Google Chrome, you can just drag and drop files right into this window and they'll start uploading automatically. For me, I'm going to choose New and choose File Upload. Now you can see all the documents that I've got on my computer, and I can choose any file that I want to start uploading. Once I've selected the document that I want, you'll notice that it'll start uploading. Once my file finishes uploading, you'll see it pop up inside of my folder here. If I wanted that file to be somewhere else, I can choose to click and drag that file somewhere else. Maybe I wanted to put that inside of my subfolder. Now you can see my file has landed in my subfolder. Shared with Me is an area in Google Drive that lists all of the files that have been shared with you by their share date. So you can go back in time and find something that was shared with you. If you'd like to organize things, you can go and choose a file and select this button up here that says Add Shortcut to Drive. Choose the folder you want it to go in and choose Add Shortcut. Now that file has been added to the folder that you just selected. I see teachers often try to organize this space to keep it clean, and my best tip for you is to just let this space be. By the time that you organize all the files that are inside of here, new files will start popping up and you'll have to start the process all over again. Keep yourself sane. Just leave this as a space where you can view all the files that have ever been shared with you and just leave it at that. Starred is an area of Google Drive that houses bookmarks to all of the files that are important to you. Sometimes it's easy to get a file lost inside of subfolders in your Google Drive. So to combat that, you can right-click on any file and choose Add to Starred. When you do that, that file will now have a bookmark inside of the starred area that gives you quick access to that file. Use this space to organize all the things that are most important for you to access often. One great feature inside of Google Drive is that I can take any file I want and put it into multiple places. To do that, I highlight the file I want and choose Shift-Z on the keyboard. I'll know that I'm putting this file in multiple places because the pop-up menu shows up in green. I'll choose My Drive and select a folder to put this file into. Now this file will show up in both spaces. I can see that by clicking on this View Details button and choosing my file again. Under Location, I can see the multiple folders that this file is in. To remove it from one of these folders, I just choose the X next to it. The search bar can be a huge help inside of Google Drive. To use it, click in the Search in Drive and type in the name or content of one of the files that you're looking for. For me, I'm going to look up that video I just created, and I know that demo was in the title. When I type in demo, here's a list of everything that mentions the word demo, and there's my video at the very top. I can also use advanced search options by clicking the down arrow and selecting the file types that I'm looking for, selecting who owns it, giving locations and more information to help me find and locate that thing. Let's talk about a couple pro tips. You may notice that my Google Drive looks a little different than yours. I have mine set up in List View. List View shows things very similar to the way that Windows or PCs show files. If you prefer something a little bit different, maybe you're more visual, you can choose this icon up here that says Grid View. When you select that, it puts things into more of a gridded view. You can see a preview of your images and documents inside of here, making things a little easier to locate by what they look like. Priority is a space inside of Google Drive that uses artificial intelligence to suggest things to you that you might need at that moment. It also has an area called Workspaces. In education, we wear a lot of different hats, so it makes sense that we might want to sort some of our files based on the hat that we're wearing at that time. To make your own workspace, hit Create and give it a title. Select the files you want to be in your workspace and choose Insert. When you choose Done, you'll notice you have a new workspace that has all the files relating to that hat that you're wearing at that moment. Shared Drives is a space within Google Drive that houses all of the things that are shared amongst groups of people. Rather than My Drive, where a file is owned by one person, shared drives are owned by a team of people. This means if a person was to leave their position, you wouldn't lose access to the files that they created if you were in a shared drive. So shared drive may be a good option for the teams that you work with, so you don't lose access to important files. Sometimes working with all of your files being on the internet can feel a little bit clunky. Google Drive File Stream is built for this purpose. To access it, click on the Settings gear in the top right and choose Get Drive for Desktop. When you do this, you'll be guided through a series of steps to set up Google Drive File Stream. After you've installed Google Drive File Stream, you'll notice a folder show up inside of your File Explorer if you're using Windows. It also works on Mac. This Google Drive File Stream folder gives you direct access into your Google Drive without having to use the web. Items sync across platforms, so you can work seamlessly inside of Microsoft PowerPoint or some other tool that you love and save them directly to Google Drive without ever knowing that you're going out to the web. That's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned a few things along the way. Have fun Google driving.